Today, December 12th, something is unfolding within him, something that goes far beyond his conscious intentions and overrides every rational choice he has tried to make about the connection between you. At this very moment, as you are listening, he may be experiencing an unexplainable restlessness, a profound unease he cannot clearly define. There is an inner pressure building, intensifying everything he has been attempting to suppress and control. This is not random or accidental. The 12/12's portal functions as a powerful, energetic catalyst, one that specifically affects the divine masculine in ways his mind cannot fully comprehend. Yet his soul registers with exact precision the divine. Masculine does not move through energetic portals in the same way the feminine does, where you may sense these openings as growth, its clarity, or an invitation to elevate. He experiences them as confrontation and pressure, as though something buried deep within is being forced to surface, even while he is actively resisting it. The 12/12's portal is especially challenging for him because it magnifies the very things he is most afraid to confront, the deep longing for you that he has been denying, the awareness of a connection he repeatedly tries to dismiss as insignificant, and above all, the realization that the life he has constructed around logic and control can no longer contain what his soul is urgently demanding. This is what is rarely explained about the 12C portal and the divine masculine. Today, and in the days that follow, his behavior may become even more contradictory. He may withdraw further, appear emotionally distant, or seem to move entirely away from you. You might interpret this as definitive rejection, as confirmation that he is not your twin flame, or as a signal that it is time to let go and move forward. However, if you remain with this message until the end, you will begin to understand why this heightened resistance is actually one of the clearest indicators that the portal is functioning exactly as it should. More importantly, you will see why your responsibility at this moment is not to pursue him, not to persuade him, and not to prove anything at all. Instead, it is to do something entirely different, something that has the power to shift the entire energetic dynamic between you, before exploring what is actually unfolding for him within this portal. It is essential to first understand why 12/12 holds particular importance in twin flame connections. Within the study of the human psyche, there are periods when the collective unconscious becomes more active, more accessible, and more capable of shaping. Dates such as 12/12 carry a numerical symmetry that connects with something profound in the human mind, something that goes beyond culture, religion, or individual belief systems. This is not a matter of superstition. Rather, it reflects an awareness that archetypal patterns tend to activate at certain moments in time. The number 12/12 symbolizes a threshold of completion that occurs just before transformation. It marks the final point of one cycle, where the old structure reaches its limit and something new must emerge. For the divine masculine who has been avoiding or resisting his twin flame connection, this portal acts as a decisive turning point. At this stage, the soul ceases its compromises with the ego and instead begins to insist on movement, change, and a deeper level of honesty that can no longer be postponed. The masculine has been shaped over generations to believe that his power comes from control through rational decision-making, knowing what he wants and does not want, and keeping his emotions tightly regulated. When he recognizes you as his twin flame, even if this recognition occurs on an unconscious level, something within him immediately senses that this bond has the potential to dismantle the entire system of control he has spent his life constructing. For him, this experience is not romantic in the way it may be for you. It is deeply unsettling. It is as though, when he looks at you, he simultaneously sees his greatest opportunity for fulfillment and his greatest threat to the survival of his ego. As the 12/12 portal opens, this dual awareness intensifies to a level that becomes almost unbearable. He can no longer deny what he feels, yet he also cannot permit himself to fully experience those emotions. This leaves him trapped in a state of psychological suspension, where everything inside him is in conflict. His soul pulls him in one direction, while his ego drags him in the opposite. The outcome of this internal struggle is behavior that, from your perspective, may appear cold, confusing, or simply impossible to comprehend. What is essential for you to truly understand is the depth of this inner battle he is facing, the stronger his resistance becomes, the deeper his inner awareness actually is. If he genuinely felt nothing, he would simply move forward without inner conflict, without unease, and without the contradictions you continue to observe. The reason this resistance is so intense is because the connection itself is real. Something within him understands that you matter in a way that surpasses any relationship he has experienced before. That is exactly why the resistance must be so powerful. His ego is struggling to protect itself, because it recognizes that surrendering to this bond would mean a symbolic end to the identity he has always believed himself to be, and a transformation into someone new, someone he is unsure he has the strength to become. During the 12-12 portal, this inner conflict intensifies as the spiritual pressure increases exponentially. It is as though the universe is speaking directly to his soul, saying, "This is the moment of choice. Continue denying and remain within the familiar safety of what you know, or step into the unknown that frightens you, yet is far more authentic." When a soul is faced with a decision of this magnitude, under such pressure, the individual's behavior in the physical world often becomes unstable, inconsistent, and at times self-sabotaging or destructive. He may pursue stronger distractions, immerse himself excessively in work, or engage in other relationships in an attempt to convince himself that you are not unique, that anyone could replace you. However, none of these behaviors indicate that he does not want you. Instead, they reveal how desperate he is to avoid acknowledging the depth of his feelings. On an energetic level, what the divine masculine experiences during the 12-12 portal can best be described as a triple-layered pressure. First, his desire for you is intensifying in ways he can no longer explain, dismiss, or ignore. This may show up as physical attraction, emotional yearning, or an unexpected urge to check on you, how you are, what you're doing, and whether you're all right. This pull enters his mind at inconvenient moments, disrupts his sleep, and draws his attention away from things that normally fully engage him. The more he tries to suppress it, the more forcefully it resurfaces. Second, alongside this desire, he is confronting a heightened fear of equal strength. It is the fear that allowing himself to fully experience this desire could cause him to lose control over his life, expose vulnerabilities he has long avoided, lead him to depend on someone in a way he has always associated with weakness. Third, he is experiencing increasing spiritual pressure to make a genuine decision to stop remaining undecided and either fully step into the connection or completely let you go, allowing both of you to continue on your individual paths. These three opposing forces acting simultaneously create a state of inner turmoil that he does not know how to manage or understand. This is precisely where many women on the twin flame journey make a critical error. They sense this internal unrest within him and interpret it as a signal to take action, to move closer, to ease his struggle through reassurance, affection, or by trying to demonstrate that the connection is secure. However, this response often has the opposite effect. Instead of reducing his resistance, it intensifies it even further, because when you move toward him on an energetic level, when you try to save him from his uncertainty, when you step in with answers to struggles that belong to him alone, you reinforce his ego's deepest anxiety that he will be overtaken, controlled, stripped of his independence, and that this bond will consume his sense of self. What you intend as support becomes the evidence his ego needs to justify retreating. As a result, the pattern continues without end. You feel compelled to give more while he feels an increasing need to guard himself. The truth that fundamentally shifts this dynamic is not rooted in greater effort. It lies in becoming something entirely different. When you stop trying to persuade him, when you stop attempting to validate the value of the connection, when you stop presenting your love as a tool to secure his closeness, and instead begin to fully embody your own strength, completeness, and self-rule, a remarkable shift takes place in the energetic space between you. You cease to be a challenge to his ego and begin to serve as a reflection of the potential his soul deeply longs for. You no longer symbolize a loss of control, you begin to represent a symbol of expanded potential. This change does not occur through what you say to him or how you act toward him, but through who you choose to become in relation to yourself. During the 12/12ths portal, while he may be experiencing pressure to make a decision, you are being called to embody a deeper state of being. Embodiment is not an abstract idea. It is a tangible condition where every cell in your body, every thought in your mind, and every emotion in your heart aligns with the truth that you are already complete, already whole, and already extraordinary, regardless of whether he ever acknowledges it. This is not about pretending or adopting a strategy to influence him. It is not a form of manipulation. It is a sincere transformation at the core of who you are. When this shift genuinely takes place, when you firmly anchor yourself in this frequency of wholeness, the divine masculine perceives it immediately. Even if there is physical distance between you, even if you have not communicated for months, the connection exists on a level that goes beyond space and time. Any meaningful change in your vibrational state is reflected instantly within his energetic field. What makes the 12/12ths portal particularly powerful is that it creates a period in which changes that would normally require months can develop within days. It is as though the boundary between the physical and energetic realms becomes thinner, allowing inner transformations to express themselves outwardly at an accelerated pace. This means that if you commit to the inner work now, if you use this portal to ground yourself in your own sovereignty, to consciously place yourself as your highest priority, and to genuinely let go of the need for him to confirm your value, the outcomes can manifest in your life far more quickly than you might expect. But this requires you to completely stop directing your attention toward him and consciously bring all of that focus back to yourself, not as a tactic, but as a lived and embodied reality. You must be deeply honest with yourself. Where has your energy actually been invested? How many times throughout the day does he cross your mind? How often do you check to see if he viewed your stories, liked a post, or left any indication that he is still observing you? How many imagined conversations do you replay internally, preparing what you would say if he reached out? Every moment you spend energetically revolving around him is a moment you are not grounded in your own center of power. And the paradox is this: the more you revolve around him, the less magnetic you become. The more you realign with your own axis, the more naturally attractive you are, not because you are applying seduction methods, but because you are radiating the frequency of someone who understands her own worth, who does not rely on external validation to feel whole, and who has created a life so full and meaningful that someone would need to be truly exceptional to enhance it. The divine masculine is unconsciously waiting for this shift. He is waiting to sense that you no longer require him to feel complete. Only when he perceives this can he approach without the fear of being drawn into a cycle of emotional dependency. Only when he recognizes that you are already whole can he begin to consider surrendering to the connection without feeling that he is losing himself in the process. The 12/12 portal intensifies this dynamic to an extreme degree. If you use this moment to genuinely and fully return to yourself, he will feel that change as a profound internal disruption. He will sense that something essential has shifted within the energetic field between you. And even if his conscious mind cannot explain what occurred, on a subconscious level he will begin to respond differently, however. You must also understand that this transformation in him may not appear positive at first. He may seem more disoriented, more restless, and more prone to unpredictable behavior. Because now he is confronting not only the internal pressure created by the portal, but also the loss of the energetic structure he unconsciously relied upon. He is also sensing that you have changed, that you are no longer emotionally and energetically available in the way you once were, and that something valuable is slipping away from him. This awareness triggers a deep sense of panic. His ego may attempt to pull you back into the old dynamic. He may provoke reactions, resurface after a long period of silence, or make gestures that appear positive on the surface, but are actually efforts to regain control. This is where many women fall into the same pattern again. They interpret a sign of movement from him as proof that he is finally prepared, and they rush back into complete availability, full attention on him, and renewed hope that things will be different this time. The moment this happens, the inner growth and progress they were developing begins to fall apart. What the 1212 portal is asking of you is not a short-term display of emotional distance until he returns. It is calling for a lasting transformation in who you are, how you engage with your own life, and where you place your sense of worth and identity. This is the difference between playing a role and genuinely becoming someone new. That level of change only occurs when you fully accept that he may never be ready, that the union may never appear in the way you once imagined, and that this entire experience may have always been about finding yourself rather than finding him. When you reach a place of deep acceptance, when you can consider that possibility without falling apart, and when you can envision a life that is rich and meaningful with or without him, something significant takes place. You stop living for a future that may never arrive and begin living fully in the present. A fully lived present carries the most magnetic energy. Within the 1212 portal, the divine masculine is being pushed to face his own shadow, the parts of himself he has long avoided or suppressed. He is being forced to confront his difficulty with vulnerability, his habit of avoiding genuine intimacy, and his underlying fear of not being strong, capable, or grounded enough to sustain a connection of this intensity. These confrontations are not comfortable or refined, and they are not spiritual in a romantic sense. They're raw, disorienting, and often appear as behaviors that resemble regression rather than growth. He may seem more immature, more guarded, and more reactive during this phase. He may seem like he's regressing rather than progressing. You might begin to question whether he's truly worth the wait when he displays such challenging versions of himself. But here's what you need to understand. This journey into his own inner depths is absolutely essential. For him to emerge as the person capable of meeting you in conscious union, he must confront his personal psychological underworld, face his most difficult demons, and acknowledge his deepest vulnerabilities. This is not a process you can undertake. For him, you cannot rescue him or make his path easier or quicker. Your role is simply to remain grounded in your own light while he navigates his darkness. Not the lighthouse, not the lifeguard. You provide illumination without entering his storm to pull him out. This requires a level of inner strength far beyond the romanticized image of a twin flame connection. The 1212 portal is activating specific qualities in both of you that must be integrated before union can occur. In him, it brings to the surface issues around vulnerability, surrender, and the acceptance that he cannot control everything in his life. In you, it awakens aspects of sovereignty, firm boundaries, and the refusal to lose yourself for any connection, no matter how sacred it seems. These activations are complementary, preparing both of you for a type of union that transcends conventional relationship patterns. However, they must first unfold individually within each of you before a healthy relational connection is possible. Forcing union before these personal integrations are complete inevitably creates a dynamic that is toxic, it's codependent, and ultimately damaging for both. So what should you do now in this 1212 portal as you sense something shifting? The intensity around you, whether through signs from him or conversely through a profound silence, your task is to stay centered, grounded, and unwavering in your own light. You choose yourself fully, decisively, without hesitation. Not as a strategy, not as a last resort after trying everything else, but as the recognition that you have always been the answer you were seeking. You were the one who needed to save yourself, to love yourself, to become whole. He was never meant to be your savior. He was always the mirror, the catalyst, the trigger that forced you to confront parts of yourself you had been avoiding. Now that you have confronted them, now that you have seen clearly, now that you understand, your responsibility is to integrate, to heal, and to transform, not for him, not to win him back, but for yourself, because of yourself. In practical terms, this means that in the days ahead, it's time you notice your thoughts drifting toward him, you intentionally but gently bring your focus back to yourself. Each time you feel the urge to check his social media, to look for signs, or to dwell on his life, redirect that energy toward something that genuinely nurtures you. Each time your mind begins to imagine what-if scenarios about being together, channel that creative energy into building something real and meaningful in your current life. This is not about suppressing your emotions or denying your love. It is about consciously refusing to feed patterns that keep you stuck in a fantasy future instead of fully inhabiting your present. Every time you make this choice, you emit a different energy. You stop broadcasting lack and begin radiating abundance. You stop projecting waiting and start projecting presence. And these energetic shifts are noticeable even to him. Even if he is in another city, another state, or another country, even if you have no direct contact, he feels it. He registers it. He responds to it heaven, if only on an unconscious level. The 1212 portal remains open only briefly. It's offering a unique opportunity for accelerated transformation. But this window doesn't stay open indefinitely. There comes a point when it closes, when the energy settles back to normal, and the chance to trigger rapid change passes. You have two choices for how to use this window. One option is to fixate on him, trying to sense what he's thinking, checking whether he's moving toward you, or attempting to psychically monitor him. The other option is to dedicate it to the most important work of your life. Finally and irrevocably prioritizing yourself. This involves not only setting external boundaries, but also internal ones. It means deciding what type of love you are willing to give and what you are not. Build a life so meaningful, vibrant, and fulfilling that if he appears, he would need to be truly extraordinary to enhance it. Here's a truth few are willing to say aloud. He may never arrive. The union may never unfold as you imagined. This entire journey might have always been about bringing you home to yourself, not to him. When you can face this possibility without breaking, when you can see it clearly and still choose to live fully, love deeply, and invest wholeheartedly in your own life, you attain a level of spiritual maturity that surpasses any need for an external union to feel complete. Ironically, paradoxically, and mysteriously, it's often at that exact moment when you no longer need the union that it becomes possible. You would only choose it if it genuinely enhances the completeness you already possess. The divine masculine experiences the 1212 portal as a direct summons from his own soul to stop skimming the surface of life and instead dive into its depths, to cease opting for what feels merely safe and begin choosing what is authentic. Shed socially acceptable masks and reveal his true self. This call is daunting because it demands a symbolic death of the identity he has carefully constructed. It requires him to acknowledge that he is not as invincible as he projects, that he experiences fears and insecurities just like any other human, and that he craves profound connection even if he has spent years convincing himself that needing anyone is a weakness. He can only respond to this call when he senses a safe space where he can be fully seen, flaws and all. Such a space is not created by you diminishing yourself, over-adapting, or settling for crumbs. It is formed by your own strength, wholeness, and alignment with your truth so he can bring every part of himself, including the broken pieces. Without fearing he will harm you in the process. During the 1212 portal, as he is pushed to confront everything he has long avoided, you are invited to become the presence capable of holding space for his transformation without losing yourself. Not as his mother, not as his therapist, but as his equal. Someone who has undertaken her own shadow work, faced her own demons, and chosen truth over comfort. Even when it was terrifying, you can only be that presence if you have done the work. If you have sincerely examined your own shadows, wounds, and patterns, if you have genuinely chosen to heal rather than simply cope, to transform instead of just compensate, know that this journey is neither linear nor simple. It's not a one-time effort. It is a lifelong commitment to continue growing, evolving, becoming more fully yourself. If you've reached this point and felt that every word resonates deeply with your soul, if you've recognized your own path within this description, and if you understand that the 1212 portal is not about him finally choosing you, but about you truly choosing yourself, then you are ready for the next step. This next step is no longer about waiting, overanalyzing, or trying to decode his every action. It is about directing the same intensity toward yourself that you once invested in him. It is about prioritizing your own growth, healing, and transformation. It requires doing the inner work that no video, reading, or external advice can ever accomplish for you. To support this journey, there are in-depth materials designed specifically to guide you through individuation and emotional sovereignty. Inspired by the depth psychology of Jung, which modern therapists and shadow work practitioners continue to draw from today. One is a structured 21-day transformation program to help you integrate your shadow, establish healthy boundaries, and develop an identity that no longer relies on external validation. The other is a practical guide for the days when the path feels overwhelming, when you feel the urge to betray yourself or revert to old patterns of chasing, waiting, or minimizing your own worth. These resources are linked in the first pinned comment and at the top of the description, serving as practical tools to support you as you undertake the most important work of your life. Now, there is something you must declare if you have truly grasped the essence of what has been shared. Here, go to the comments and write, "I choose my own greatness." This statement is more than just a motivational phrase. It is a powerful declaration that you understand your journey has never been about winning him. It has always been about reclaiming yourself, becoming the woman you were destined to be, and fully embracing your essence without fear, without shame, and without shrinking to fit into the spaces others create for you. When you make this declaration and start living from that place, when you prioritize your own greatness above any potential relationship, you naturally become magnetic in ways that surpass any manifestation technique. The 12-12 portal is open now. The energy is present. The chance for accelerated transformation is right before you, but it will not remain open indefinitely. There is a window, and it will close. During this time, you can continue focusing on him, waiting for signs, trying to sense what is happening in his life. Or you can invest this energy into the work only you can do, the transformation only you can complete, the choice only you can make. Choosing yourself does not mean abandoning him. It means finally realizing that you never needed him to be whole. You have always been whole, always enough, always magnificent. He was simply a mirror, reflecting the parts of yourself you had been neglecting. Now that you have looked, now that you have seen, your responsibility is to honor what you have discovered by living from that truth. Thank you for having the courage to stay until the end, for being willing to consider that perhaps everything you tried before was actually moving you away from what you truly wanted. The path to union does not run through conquering him. It runs through becoming so fully yourself that he cannot help but recognize the greatness that has always existed within you. The portal is open. Energy is present, but only you can decide how to use it. Thank you for being here. See you in the next video.